Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Born to be Wild Listener Series Season 4 Finals. This is the match that we have all been waiting for, the finale of Season 4. The top two here have made it through 8 weeks of competition to now be facing off against each other for the championship. So tonight's match is Jools versus Kenray. And so before we get started here in Cassie's matches, just real quick going through the rules and stuff for folks who are watching that may not be familiar. So first off, the season-wide overview. The Born to be Wild Listener Series is a Hearthstone Wild format tournament series with special deck building restrictions each week. Each season consists of 5 weeks of regular competition, followed by 3 weeks of playoffs. So the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. The following rules apply to every week. All decks must contain at least 15 minions unless otherwise specified. There is a season-wide ban on the following cards: Genn, Greymane, Baku the Moon Eater, Ice Block, Defend the Dwarven District, Raid the Docks, and then any other cards banned in the wild format. Now, those rules are a little bit different tonight, and we'll get into that in just a moment. The matches are played in the Conquest format, for those not familiar. Each week, players submit 4 decks consisting of separate classes. Classes and deck lists are hidden until after the weekly submission deadline. Once classes and deck lists are revealed, players have an opportunity to review and ban one of their opponent's decks. Ban selections are hidden until both players have submitted their bans, at which point they're revealed. In the Conquest format, when a player wins with the deck, that player must then move on to a different deck. The losing player may switch decks, but is not required to do so. So the victor is the first person to win the matches with all 3 decks. For those of you watching along tonight, just a quick heads up at how things are displayed here. So players are represented by avatars, and decks are represented by class icons. So and then the banned decks are marked with the red X. Winning decks are marked with the green check. So the green check indicates that the player has won with that class or deck, so they cannot play it any longer. The red X indicates that that class has been banned and that cannot be played. And then speaking of, each week having a special custom deck building restriction, let me pass the mic over to Electric Sheep City to talk about this week's weekly challenge.
Thanks, Nate. So this week's challenge is Battle of the Bands, submitted by Jordan MG. So for this week's challenge, each player for the first week, submits 10 bands per class and 15 neutral bands. Those are the cards that their opponent cannot play. So like Nate mentioned earlier with the bans being a little different, Genn and Baku are not banned stock here. If you want them banned, then they need to be banned with one of those ban slots. Same with Ice Block, or anything that is legal in the wild format is able to be played unless banned by the other player. So once each player has submitted the 10 bans per class and 15 neutral bans, each player then creates their deck with any of the remaining cards that they have access to. So first bans are revealed, and then the players can build their decks. They cannot use any cards their opponent banned when building the decks, but they can use cards that they banned for their opponent that was not banned for them. So again, the only cards banned aside from the ban exchange are those that are banned from the wild format. So Stealer of Souls and the Warlock quest line. So that is this week's challenge. Hydra, tell us a little bit about the decks that our opponents brought this week.
Sure. So with all those restrictions in mind, each of the opponent's decks are going to look a little bit different. So if we look at Kenray's decks, Kenray is not allowed to play the Druid, by the way, so we won't talk about the Druid. Or actually, I can... so we'll start off with the Shaman that we have here. So we've got a Galakron Shaman that is brought. The Druid is banned. Mage, we have an Ignite Mage, which is pretty spicy. We've got the Chandler in there. And we end the list with the the decks with what looks like an inner fire priest, which that could definitely pop off. So pretty interesting. We'll see. Like I said, these decks aren't normal decks that you're going to see, popping up on the ladder. We've got a lot of restrictions here. For Jools, Sir Julian the Tall, if we look, wow, okay. So we have a shaman that is brought. I'll start off by saying the paladin is the banned deck here. So for shaman, we have a Doomhammer weapon shaman here. We got Rockbiter weapon. I haven't seen this in a while. I mean, you've seen it in standard, I suppose. This will be pretty cool. We've got Lothab and Brucan topping off the list. For Druid, this looks like something that Sheep would play. This is an aggro, low to the ground, little guy Druid that looks like it's going to go fast. We've got the Oracle of Loons in there. We've got Savage Roar. This is going to be pretty cool, so this can definitely pop off. It's a really fast list. And for the mage, we've got a Reno mage.
Reno secret mage.
Yeah, I see topping off with Sage at the top for that card draw with all of the secrets. I've brought this a couple times, and it does pretty good. So some spicy lists here with all these restrictions.
Yeah, these will be fun, and whenever the players are ready to queue up, I think we're good to go. In the meantime, are there any notable bans? I didn't want to go through the bans individually because that's 115 cards times 2 players, and that would it would take us half an hour to read them all out. But any notable inclusions?
Well, we see that Julian is allowed to play Reno. That's something that I mean is an easy ban. Lothab could be an easy ban. Things like that seem to be allowed so far. So
looks like Shutterwalk was banned. I'm looking at the final challenge bans here. For it looks like Kenray banned Aviana, Jools banned Guff.
Solid ban.
Yeah, I'm looking at just the decks that they are playing. So for Shaman, it looks like Kenray has banned Shutterwalk, Snowfall Guardian, Brilliant Macaw. Makes sense. Shutterwalk, both players banned. Yeah, makes sense. The neutral bans are always fun. We see N'Zoth, no surprise. Genn and Baku for both players.
Ship's Cannon, Patches the Pirate.
Drekthar, I love it. That's great.
Broomstick's a good ban by Kenray.
All right. Oh, you know what? We told them to go ahead and get started in the wrong chat. It's great.
Oh.
I will edit this part out of the YouTube video.
Actually, just DM'd them both as well in the Hearthstone client because I was like, oh, they may not have gotten it.
All right, cool.
All right, so we're going to get started here. Sorry for the delay, folks. A little minor technical details here.
A root and do.
All right, they're getting started. Here we go.
You ready to duel?
Thrall versus Medivh. Okay, so Jools with the Reno Secret Mage and Kenray with this Galakron Shaman.
Yeah, so Kenray with an Invoker in hand immediately decides to full keep.
God, I actually like the hands for both players. I mean, where Jools is a little bit slow, maybe I think might toss the Devolving Missiles, but
got that Cure and Tor Mage.
Yeah, the Cure and Tor Mage with the Secret, followed up with the whatever it's called, 4 mana that makes a duplicate of itself.
Yeah, Occult Conjure.
Hey, there we go.
Instantly gold when that came out.
All right, so we see Kenray snap pick the Primordial Studies and go with the Squall Hunter. 3 mana, 5/7.
Oh my god,
seems strong.
That's a good one.
That make it cheaped. But you know what? We see the Lightning Bloom in hand as well, and that it'd be interesting. If Kenray is able to get that out before Secret is played, that.
Yeah, because he's got the opportunity to bloom Squall Hunter and Vocation of Frost. Decides to just play the Diligent Note Taker. Can't blame him there too much. The real question here is whether Jools coins out that Potion of Polymorph. Because that would spell doom for that Squall Hunter. So.
How could you know it? There's such a big minion in hand, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, he has to know that there is a minion in hand, though. I mean, just based on that spell, but like, yeah. All right.
So he's definitely pointing out the Kirin Tor Mage. It's just whether he chooses the Flame Ward or the.
Oh, it is the Potion of Polymorph. Okay.
And we're gonna see a sheep.
I mean,
I imagine we see like a spell to test for counterspell here, but
they do have access to each other's lists at this point, right? So
yes.
What actually?
There is a lot of secrets.
So Kenray starting out with a Crackle, prioritizing the Invocation and the Ramp.
Okay.
Hops in and holds the Squall Hunter to play around that secret perfectly.
It's interesting using the Crackle as well. Probably to play around counterspell, wanting to keep the Invocation. I would be my guess, although I mean, I suppose the thought process is you want to invoke Galakrond as many times as possible.
Yeah.
Really considering the Squall Hunter here, knowing that there's a Potion of Polymorph, chooses to keep the Squall Hunter.
Heads up play, and yes, they're open deck lists, so that's a smart decision there.
Yeah, and the deck lists have been they have had access to view these deck lists since Wednesday. So they definitely have been studying those, knowing this is the finals in particular. So playing around those secrets as best he can and testing for each one.
And when we get to the finals and matches like these, sometimes players like to practice against their friends, and so they'll verse these decks maybe before they get to actually play in the finals when their friends are playing it, and maybe have been burned by a card like Potion of Polymorph while practicing. So I can see why the hesitation.
Yeah, no, it'd be pretty devastating to lose that card.
Gosh, with so much burn in Kenray's hand, and knowing that he faces a Reno secret mage, it's definitely tempting to do this thing. Yeah, he had to proc it eventually. The real question now is, which does Jools ping off? The Searing Totem or the sheep? Please keep the sheep alive.
Save the sheep.
Relevantly, going into 5 mana, Kenray did proc that secret, which means that Cloud Prince cannot come down for value. Okay.
I appreciate how deliberate they're being here, though, and I think what we've seen in other matches season wide is sometimes that the players are, whether they're excited or nervous or whatever it is, but a lot of times we see these cards being slung like at lightning speed, but these competitors know that, like, okay, we're in the finals now, and this is serious business. And so I appreciate the thought that is going into the card choices here. We see this a lot of times when we're watching HTC or any of the other Grandmaster stuff, where it's not uncommon for players to wait until the last second to select what they're going to do, because they're trying to think of, okay, what are the possibilities? What does my opponent have in hand, or how is this going to go sideways?
Often thinking multiple turns ahead.
Yeah. Well, and even then we see Kenray, hovering over cards here and trying to plan out moves in advance.
And oh, Jools able to get out both the Cabal Crystal Runner and a Mad Scientist for a secret reload to hopefully get some Cloud Prince value going on. Best case scenario, what Jools is really hoping for is going into turn after next, being able to brand that Cloud Prince would be best case Ontario.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and we saw both players did indeed ban Ice Block, and so that is definitely not an Ice Block.
So he's also tested for Oasis Ally there, which Jools does run. And setting up for, it looks like a landslide. Testing for more secrets. Yeah, kind of pivoting. Either playing around Counterspell or the Netherwind Portal that it is. Aha, there's the Bloom. The landslide.
We got an explosive runes out of that Mad Scientist.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so Jools still has a secret in play, so this Occult Conjurer could proc, or yeah, I mean, I think we see Jools. Can Jools prevent this from popping off so that there's a with 8 mana brand into Cloud Prince is pretty gnarly.
Gosh, if I'm Jools here, I'm really tempted to brand into the Occult Conjurer.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, right? I mean, that's...
Present a massive board and then just start hitting face with minions. Minions as Secret Mage.
Yeah, it'd be such a tempo play.
Yeah, the Cloud Prince seems like the dream, but maybe it's a little bit of bait here.
Well, yeah, it might be a little ambitious. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Jools does take that route, then I can see trading the Cabal Crystal Runner into the Corrupt Elementalist to try and preserve that brand.
Well, there's some stats.
Okay.
I like this too, very much.
What's better than 2 4/4s, 2 5/5s?
Yeah, so with the Occult Conjurer,
well, there would have been 3 though. Yeah,
brand, would have been 3 4/4s, but with this one, we've got 2 5/5s and a 2/2. So it just contests differently, and honestly, having more reload with the Occult Conjurer on board or in hand just seems like a really solid strat too.
Well, and if for whatever reason Bran, sticks around, it's like, well, there you go. And
yeah, I'd be. Ooh, so Jools really tempted to draw 4 with that Sage. Can still ping off the Searing Totem. Only puts a 5/5, but does fill that hand up nicely.
Drawing 4 is like the perfect number here as well. It's 10 cards left in Jools' deck, but it's it's enough. You don't want to overdraw like that. It seems like That's the perfect Sage right there.
And Jools has board right now, and Kenray doesn't have much of a hand, so it was a pretty safe time to
Definitely.
make that play.
Speaking of board, Jools solidifies that stranglehold on the board with that play.
Oof.
Facing down 17 plus another 6. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a rough spot, I think, for Kenray, unfortunately. Kind of on the back foot here, and 17 damage on board plus another 2, or plus another.
We've got a fireball.
Yeah, that fireball top deck.
Yeah, we're good.
Will seal the deal. That's 12 damage from hand now. Yeah.
All right, so Jools taking game 1 with the Reno Secret Mage.
Wow. Congrats, Jools.
All right, yeah, that was certainly just wow. That deck popped off, and Sage drawing all of the right things as well. Looking back over at Kenray, I'm really, excited to see the Shaman, though. There's so much burn here. Looks like they're queuing into game 2. And so we have the reverse now. Kenray with the Ignite Mage, right? And
Yeah, Jools with the Doomhammer Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
Jools keeping that Primal Dungeoneer. Kenray keeping that First Flame. We see both Sorcerer's Apprentices already in hand. And Kenray with a Rustrot Viper in hand as well, knowing that he's facing this Doomhammer Shaman. Typically, with this Ignite Mage, that Rustrot Viper will be used as a tradable to just churn through the deck and get your combo pieces. That's quite a bit of disruption in this particular matchup, though. So I can see Kenray holding on to that Rustrot Viper for dear life.
Yeah.
So Kenray deciding to deal with that Diligent Note Taker over 2 turns, being mana efficient and pinging it this turn, and can First Flame next turn. Jools deciding to get value off of that Note Taker while he can by Serpent Shrine portaling the face.
I will say this is not your typical Ignite Mage. It's a little bit harder with no ice block, so timing is definitely of the essence here.
Definitely.
Yeah. Jools knowing that they've got to go face as much as possible before this Night Mage can pop off. Oh, and
Ooh.
There goes the weapon destruction.
Yeah, Kenray is so close right now, only really needing that Chandler in order to just completely go off. So I think Kenray seeing the line of winning first being the more disruptive than disrupting the Doomhammer. We'll see how much that impacts the Jools. By Jools entering turn 5, we could be seeing that Doomhammer come down right now and immediately punishing that move. Or Jools might hold on to the Doomhammer and actually go for more burst from hand. Kind of electing for the latter, and especially having just seen that Rustrot Viper be traded in. Seems like a good read. We have caster vision. We know.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so hard without, being able to buy extra turns.
Yeah, making a board too for Jools is smart because like a lot of these spells are just going to be wasted on clearing minions, as Kenray is just stalling out right now. So it kind of gives something for Kenray to just shoot at right now.
Definitely. Ooh, speaking of something for Kenray to just shoot at right now, that Wild Paw Cavern drawn for Jools can really give a continuous pressure for the next few turns if Jools does decide to invest that 4 mana this turn.
Mm-hmm.
Another line is the Primal Dungeoneer into the Serpent Shrine portal. Jools selecting to draw first and decide from there. Now we see the Wild Paw Cavern come down and damage go face.
Yeah,
Drawing first, always a good call.
Jools is
Yes.
definitely applying the pressure here too, and like 12 health away is like, that's next turn here. So okay, that's Chandler.
Kenray doing
The maths.
doing the maths. Yeah, I think that Mana Biscuit might need to come down. Kenray definitely knows this deck much better than I do.
Hoping to survive for a turn.
Yeah, just not quite enough.
No,
not
rock
quite enough
fighter
mana
weapon
there.
top deck. Yeah, that's a top deck for sure. Game 2 to Jools.
So Jools taking a 2-0 lead and will have to win with the Druid. So Kenray has isolated that Druid. Kenray still got that, I guess it's kind of a burn shaman, the Ignite Mage, and that Inner Fire Priest yet to go.
And the priest has been chosen.
Light makes right.
I mean, this is a pretty decent opening hand here. The Deathlord looks pretty good against low to the ground Druid.
Yeah, that Shadow Word Devour is incredible. And Jools definitely chose, if not this deck to cater to me, he did choose the hero. And I wholeheartedly approve. So thank you, Jools.
The sea floor be its own treasure.
Who do you think is favored here?
It kind of depends, truthfully. So if Jools can just get off to a big start and keep Kenray from developing and keep Kenray from, seizing the board and seizing different removal, then Jools can eke it out. But this is favored to Kenray.
Yeah. Well, and even, with the aggro druid would know all Kenray needs to do is build a giant taunt and not even necessarily send it face, but
keep healing it.
well, we see a silence in hand from Kenray too, and I think one of the reasons Kenray's not trading it away is when we see composting come down or any other like giant board buff, that Kenray can always just silence the board.
Kenray electing to Shadow Word Devour now. And drop a 7/7.
On turn 3.
A 3 mana 7/7.
What is this?
Well, Well, Jools going wide, which makes sense, but
Especially having just seen that Shadow Word Devour come down.
All right. Kenray's definitely in the game here.
look at this double Narubar Weblord. So Battlecry Minions now cost an extra 4. Is that correct?
Yep.
I'm sitting here looking at that. Is it Jerry Rig Carpenter in hand here?
Mana.
Six mana 2/1. Over here with the 3 mana 7/7, 2 mana 7/7.
It's not good stats for cost. Not at all.
No.
That's- I think if I'm Jools, like that 7/7 is kind of scary. And I think the composting is pretty tempting here, just to draw cards.
Yeah, only 3 cards in hand right now.
I mean, the Knight of the Wild can test the board, but I think I value the card draw more.
Yeah, I think so too, especially since even though Knight of the Wild can test the board, it can also just get eaten up by that Radiant Elemental.
Yeah.
So, composting for not immediate draw, so we are going to, unfortunately for Jools, see a really big punish with that Shard of the Naru in hand. Ooh,
Unless you want to draw,
Potion
let's
of
just
Madness
draw with one.
first. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I feel bad for that one, but that was a good play.
That's. I almost wonder if. Well, yep. Okay, we deny the draw. And
the squirrel token shuffling as well. So denying draw and receiving draw.
More draw.
oh my.
Oh, hey,
yeah.
look.
Well.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, wow. Just when you thought there wasn't any more plays.
Wow.
Yeah, buffing up that cleric is a good idea. Spreading out the buffs here, and that cleric can just be a draw engine for days now.
Well, and I know, as the the casters, we are supposed to be kind of neutral here, but frankly, I'm happy that the match is not over yet. This just means that we get to go into a game 4. So, not saying that it's over, but Kenray's got Jools on the ropes here, definitely.
Yeah, and once Kenray had isolated this druid, this priest is the perfect one to play into this matchup.
Yeah.
And Jools going to draw 2 more this turn. So 1 more this turn now. There it goes.
That's a board. It's definitely a board.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Jools, I just don't think that there's any way to recover from this. Unless you've got kind of the god hand. I mean, I don't even think that there's anything that you could do to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Kenray on the climb back.
Yeah, even without caster vision, when when you're aggro druid and your opponent has board and a board with huge health, yeah,
Unlimited draw.
You can see there. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, good. So we saw a win now for Kenray. And so Kenray still got the burn shaman and then the ignite mage. So
we'll see that shaman come down next with removal tools like landslide and ooh, there's that Galakron. Obviously, probably not staying in hand, but confirmed it's in the deck.
Yeah, a little too slow to keep that against the aggro druid.
Very yes. But Kenray does have possibly ways to deal with the early game. Tosses away the lightning bolt and receives an invocation of frost for his reward there.
And definitely a lot of removal tools here for the shaman. Having the little two ones with rush are, I think, going to be instrumental in clearing away the endless number of tokens or small beasts that Jools is able to generate here.
Trying to decide. Okay, primordial studies. Trying to decide there between the 1 mana 3/2. But hey, guess what?
Wow.
Now it's a 0 mana.
Lady Vosh is some good value as well.
And
Yeah.
Kenray electing to hold off on the Novice Zapper in order to drop that Lady Bosch next turn.
2 mana 4/3. Good.
Wow, and look at the Mark of Yasiraj, I believe is that what it's called? Yeah, could potentially makes this little dire mole into a pretty beefy dire mole.
Yes, immediately becoming a 3/5 and starting that face race. Jools electing to go wide. And more relevantly, just start discounting that Knight of the Wild. All of the minions that Jools is putting on board are beasts. So not only is that discounting the Knight of the Wild, but it is, of course, synergizing with that Mark of Yasharaj as well. Bye, spaceship.
I couldn't resist, sorry.
And so Kenray contested with the Lady Vosh rather than invoking and freezing a few things.
There's some options here. If I see a couple of different lines. The Mark of Yasiraj to go big, but like if you drop a Marsul Cub and the composting, like you go wide and potentially draw a bunch of cards. So well, you're the expert. What is your take here?
Yeah, that is one line. Knowing Kenray's deck and that the landslide exists, that is definitely what I would do. If I didn't know the deck, then I would also be tempted to Mark of Yasharaj, the existing Marsul Cub, on board and kind of trade up. So Jools kind of electing to do that, but with a Vibrant Squirrel in order to shuffle those acorns into the deck, which also makes sense because those acorns can help him go wide in future turns as well. So that also makes complete sense. Kenray with a few options. The Corrupt Elementalist is one with the Lightning Bloom. Also This is a strong one. So there's a nature spell and a frost spell both being played right now. So multicaster getting some load up
3
there.
cards. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes sense, right? Because I think in order to play the Corrupt Elementalist will drop you two ones, but I like the draw here from the multicaster, and it just expands the number of options that Kenray has. I don't have a deck tracker running. Do we know what is there can someone keep track of the number of invokes?
I had shut mine off because it was getting confused.
Yeah, so we've seen one invocation from Kenray so far.
Perfect. And that is a yellow card, I see.
Yes, that landslide is exactly what Kenray's been hoping for.
Boy.
Unfortunately, right now, it will also draw Jools a lot of cards. If Kenray had access to that one turn earlier, then he could have prevented that thing. But he didn't have access to it quite yet, so
Yeah.
Kenray electing to freeze a 1/1 and a 1/2 and kill off the second Thornguard turtle.
Yeah. Well, and
So-
we see here, Kenray respecting the composting and not wanting Jools to draw a whole bunch of cards.
Yeah, so actively keeping that 2/4 alive on board, and active, not frozen, so that that draw is still shut off.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, good comment here as well that there is a novice zapper in hand, so spell damage, and the AOE here potentially from landslide. And I think where, I mean, kind of the game plan typically against your board-based decks, this aggro druid or whatever, is, if you're able to clear the board enough times, there's just no, if they're top decking each turn. That being said, this is a rather large board here, and it looks kind of scary.
Ooh,
Not
and
a
these
cheap
are
one.
not the options that
No.
Kenray wanted to see.
Wow.
So Kenray does still have the option of the Novice Zapper Landslide into the Invocation of Frost to freeze or deal with all but the 3/5.
Yeah, unfortunately, the landslide isn't overloaded or glowing yellow
but-
at the moment, but it'll still do some stuff.
And with the Novice Zapper going down first, that will activate the Landslide. And there's the Diligent Note Taker as well, just not quite enough mana to be able to play the second Landslide this turn.
Nah, but there's a coin. I mean, he can do something, anyways. If nothing else,
Yeah.
maybe we freeze the Knight of the Wild.
Yep.
Yeah.
And kills off that Dire Mole.
Very nice.
So that large board has been isolated.
Well,
It-
heads up
large
play by
board
Kenray.
was.
Yeah.
Large board has turned into large hand.
Various.
Wow, is that an Oracle of Elune I see, and some buffs as well? Like, this is so Jools will potentially make another very large board here, and present lethal again. In hindsight too, using the landslide, getting an extra copy of landslide from Diligent Note Taker seems pretty heads up for Kenray, knowing
Definitely.
that Jools is going to draw 5, 6, 7 more cards.
Yes, having more AoE against wide boards is definitely a heads up play. The only downside from Kenray's point of view is that his spell damage card is 5 mana.
Yeah, that
There's
hurts.
nothing he could really do about that. Those were all some chonky options.
Oh gosh, the options were terrible. Yeah, that was unfortunate. Oh, but this board is not that big.
No.
In fact,
That landslide will
yeah.
and the trade in the lightning bolt will still
Clear.
take everything out. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably best to do before it gets too buffed.
Oh yeah. Kenray clearing once more.
It sounded like when the knight died that it yelled "Con," like,
It did.
like William Shatner.
What refill though? I mean, I guess the question is, how many times can Kenray continue to wipe the board? How many times can Jools establish another gigantic board? And we see right now Jools has 10 cards, or excuse me, how many cards in hand? 9 cards in hand. And again, this is just going to be another giant board. Still 4 mana left, and so, you know, a Nerubian, probably a Squirrel, probably Mark of the Lotus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that Nerubian Unraveler really turning off the Corrupt Elementalist for Kenray, keeping them
That's
from
rough.
dealing with this board. That Lava Burst will help, but
Can
Kenray
add
won't.
overload.
Yeah, and Kenray won't have access to Corrupt Elementalist this turn. We see 2 Savage Roars in Jools' hand.
Yikes.
So yeah, that Lightning Bolt is very prudent. Kenray did choose to Lightning Bolt one of the bees rather than the Vibrant Squirrel, prioritizing the not shuffling in additional squirrels over the 1 point of damage.
I see a bee. So Jools just threw a bees that could pretty easily go into that 0-2 with oh, never mind. Hero power is a thing.
Ouch.
Oh wow. Well, that is gonna do it.
Wow.
All right. Well, congratulations to Jools, ladies
Jools.
and gentlemen. We have our season 4 winner here. Jools taking the victory 3-1.
Congratulations to Jools. Let's see if we can get our contestants into a post-match interview.
Wow. Hype.
All right, we're going to take a brief intermission, and then we will join our competitors. After an intense bout, our champion is going to take a well-earned sip of water.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that was really nice. That was really good. Intense matches there. I like to see when, like, while we have caster vision and the 3 of us are discussing plays, I really appreciate it when we see the deck builder make a play that the 3 of us didn't even see.
Yeah, that is always really that's one of the most fun things of doing the listener series casting in particular.
Yeah, like, oh, here's a couple lines. Oh, wait. Oh, whoa. Didn't see that one coming.
Fantastic. So it looks like our challengers are back, and we can jump into our interview over that way.
All right.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hello, hello.
Wow, some nice games, everybody.
Yeah, GG, I can't believe I won. I'm pretty surprised by that.
Congratulations. Well earned. Very, very much well earned.
Not the strongest play that I've ever had. My heart was absolutely pounding the entire time.
It's intense. I mean, goodness, like this match, in particular, I think there's so much lead up to it between all of the bands and the deck building. But yeah, incredible games by both of you, and congrats again to Jools for taking the victory for season 4 of the listener series. Real quick, can we? I'm kind of curious to ask both of you, and I'll start with Jools first, but I'm interested to know from both of you, how did you approach your bans this season or for this challenge here?
Well, I'm happy to admit that at the start I totally misunderstood the challenge and thought we were banning for each other because I'm an idiot, basically. my original plan was, well, my collection is definitely not up to the scratch of some of the other players. I'm just going to ban all the cards I don't own. It's going to be as simple as can be.
Oh, I see. Oh,
And-
wow.
And then you guys clarified it. Thanks very much for doing that, because they're idiots like me out there in the world. Then I was like, that makes so much more sense, the way that it's actually set up. And I'll tell you my process. Not the most exciting or interesting process in the world. I just thought of what decks are strong. Obviously, what's the key cards in the decks? Just off the top of my head. Then I looked at one of the meta snapshots. One of the meta snapshots, and then I went through a couple of Twitter things where it's like Chinese decks and stuff like that, and then I just banned the ones that I thought were key. And I must say, Kenray did a better job of doing that than I did, definitely.
That's great. Smart looking into, these deck lists, seeing what's key. Genius really just, to see what's out there and see, hey, what's the best that we can get rid of here.
Yeah, I'm sure Kenray did the same. Kenray's like a top ladder player. I used to be like 11-star on Asia and NA each month, but I must confess, even though Wild will always be where my heart is, I must confess I've not played much of it the last few months.
Well,
So I think Kenray did an excellent job of his bans. They were exemplary. When I saw them, I was like, "Oh, I'm in a bit of trouble here."
Well, yeah. Let me ask then, Kenray, how did you approach the bans and hearing the praise from Jools for your ban choices? But what was your process there?
I mean, mainly it's like you ban the good cards.
It's as simple as that, right?
I mean, besides the good cards, you ban cards that enable things. So you ban Vandal, you ban Kaliseth, you ban Mag Whopper, you ban the cards that have the 80% mulligan win rate cards.
That makes sense.
So
yeah.
they can make pile of cards win games. Yeah. So you just ban those cards.
Makes sense. Shutterwalks definitely banned.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense, right? You're like you said, Vandar and Kaliseth, or anything that could turn bad cards into good cards. Yeah.
Mag
Can I-
Whopper, Cannon. Okay.
And can I just add, Inner Fire, that should have been banned by me. That was a horrible lack of banning on my part.
Yeah, I was thinking, hey, a 28-28 taunt is going to put up quite a fight against a bunch of little tokens over here. And, that's not quite how it played out, but not too dissimilar.
Yeah, that was definitely the strongest deck of the lot of them. I think I played so badly against that priest deck in that match, but I kind of knew I was never beating that deck anyway. Really,
I kind of thought I lost when I coined the Deathlord into the Savage Rotten because
I had a chance, but I threw it away. I in my hubris, I threw it away.
Yeah, so once you all decided on your bans and you saw what the other player banned from you, that's the first step. Once you saw that, how did you then take that second step? What then informed your deck choices and your card choices within those decks? And since we started with Jools last go around, we'll start with Kenray this time.
So you take the ban list and you put it next to a meta tier list and you see the correlations. Yeah. And if the deck can function without certain cards like the priest, then it's a good deck. And yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, what can I still build, or what cards were not banned that, are still top tier meta decks? And so, in particular, like that Inner Fire Priest was very, very good deck selection.
I noticed, Kenray, you did not ban Reno Jackson, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Was that something that you had considered, you had thought about, or something you didn't sort of hit your radar?
I never intended to ban Reno.
Oh, okay.
It's like, as long as you hit Zephyrs, the Reno deck is just not as good.
when I saw that he didn't ban Reno, there was no like woohoo, he didn't ban Reno. I thought his bans were all like really good. My response was quite the opposite. I was like, oh, those are really good bans.
Yeah,
But,
Zephyrus
like,
is definitely
I
key.
don't like even if you didn't ban like Zephyrus and Reno, there was like no good Reno decks you could build. Priest is like pretty bad. There's no LPG. There's no good class anyway, except for the mage. But
What I found interesting about that, and I was looking at the bans from season 3. Is it? I was looking at the bans from the previous one, which obviously was a different meta then. But logically, when you're banning cards, if we were all highly rational people, then the cards that we banned that the opponent did not ban, does that make sense?
Mhm.
They should be the cards that we're putting in our decks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That if we were doing like a really truly good job of the banning, and we were planning ahead at least, then like if I ban X card and then my opponent doesn't ban it for me, logically I should think, oh, that was such an important card for me to ban. I should now be running it in one of my decks. But I noticed that both the first time this challenge was done and this time, neither of us did that. Like, for example, Mech Warper was there. He banned Mech Warper, so I'm thinking, oh, he values Mech Warper. You know, he singled that card to ban. Surely he must be thinking, oh, that's a good deck to run. But of course, there was no Mech Warper. And I think that was true for me, for Ken, and the previous time as well.
I mean, it would be very risky as well if I single out Mech Whopper, and you think I'll bring it. It might be like targeted.
Yeah, I was wondering.
There could be some mind games. You could ban something that's absolutely absurd. You're like, hey,
Well, I mean,
why did they ban that? I'm gonna run that card.
it's, or it depends, right? If you can sort of plan around, like, okay, I'm not going to ban any of the the cards from this deck, whatever it is, Token Druid or Reno Priest or whatever it is, and then I'm going to build my decks to target the deck that I didn't ban the cards for. It just depends.
Yeah, it was one of the strategies I thought. Like, I thought you intentionally left out Ignite, so I would bring Ignite Mage.
No, yeah, I'm so glad that you think high enough of me that you thought I did that intentionally.
I mean, you put count Neophytes in all your decks. How is that not targeting Ignite?
Well, I realized my mistake afterwards. Thank goodness there's that middle stage where we see the bans afterwards, and then you make the decks.
I almost left out Guff and Druid
Right.
just so you would bring it.
That's funny. Yeah, there's some mind games here too, and it's a difficult challenge. I mean, that's why we save it for the finals. It's probably the most difficult one of the season.
I would argue semifinals were harder.
Can I ask Kenray why he banned my paladin? I was surprised by the ban.
I mean, to be honest, it was a misclick. I want to ban the mage.
Aha.
No.
Oh no. I feel bad now. I think
my plan was to
I think
sweep
that was
the
instrumental
bed.
to the whole thing.
My plan was to sweep the bed.
I think we should add Kenray to the Hall of Fame as well as myself.
I mean, it's my mistake.
All right, there we fixed it on the screen.
That's great.
Oh dear. Well, excellent games though by both of you, and I really appreciate you participating in the listener series in general and allowing us to stream your matches. It's so much fun for us. These should be posted to YouTube probably tomorrow. If you guys are interested in, listening to our commentary or seeing kind of, the caster vision, looking at, who had what in their hand at any given time. That stuff will be available by tomorrow up on YouTube.
And I was saying before you guys hopped into the call, even though we have caster vision and we could see what you guys both have in your hands, there were times that the three of us were going, oh, okay, this is the play. And either of you on your turns would do something that the three of us didn't even come up with and blew our minds.
It was so much better.
And it
Oh,
was
yes.
so much better. Yeah.
I can easily believe that of Kenray. I think I have my worst win rate in practice games of anybody against Kenray. I'm sure Kenray will be kicking my ass in future games after this one. I think this is a rare win for me, I would say.
Well, something that you said last week as well, I think was, that you were kind of shocked to make it this far. And I do want to reiterate, like, you made it this far for a reason, and, don't sell yourself short. Very well done. And this is a victory that you earned. And so, enjoy it.
Thanks a lot. And in future seasons, I'm totally going to make excuses for my losses by the fact that I'm just chilling now because I've won it before.
I'm semi-retired,
That's great. Well,
in all seriousness, that is definitely going to happen.
Well, and let me ask, we have some folks watching or interested in future seasons. Any any thoughts or I don't know, anything that you want to offer up about how you did you like the season? Anything that you would have done differently? Is this something that you recommend that other people play, or anything we could do to improve? Just some thoughts.
That I really like that one. Sorry, go Kenray. I'm talking too much. I always do.
Go ahead.
Go on, Kenray. No, go on, Kenray. Go on.
I was gonna mention the Genn and Baku seasonal ban. So it's like some weeks where like the restrictions are too restrictive that like what you bring is actually like how to say dysfunctional. So like the Genn and Baku sometimes can really like make decks like it won't make them broken, but it'll make them like slightly playable in a way. Yeah, but that's like for certain week one, I don't know how any of the decks like managed to win, but week one was like it was too restrictive in a way.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes I think to make like a having viable decks versus just like pile of cards, and it's a little tricky to try to find a middle ground. But definitely appreciate the feedback. And something that we did this season, and I'm sure that we'll continue to do in future seasons, is crowdsource ideas for the weekly deck building restrictions. And, we're always open to improving. And so, if anyone wants to offer, suggestions or ideas for deck building restrictions, we're always available. Discord is the place to go for that.
Yeah, I will.
I'd like to say the 15 minutes requirement is like so a bit too restrictive in a way.
Yeah, we thought about maybe reducing it to 10 or something. I mean, the idea was to try to avoid all spell decks, but but we could do, even if it's maybe a smaller number, whether it's 5 or 10 or whatever it is. But okay.
Yeah, but I think now
I agree with Kenray.
So,
the
real
15 minutes.
quick, this question is kind of more about what you would recommend to people watching or people who are playing next go around, kind of what you would recommend for them, because the Discord is definitely the place for the recommendations for us.
Cool. Let me just say that there's been some really good ones previously. I think we should bring them back and change them a little bit. That's what I would say. I feel bad about posting them in the Discord as like quote unquote my idea, because they're really, really not my idea. Like that one where all your minions had to be, I think it was 2 mana, except for 1 minion. That one was brilliant. Do that again with 1 mana. Do that again with 3 mana. Bring that one back. That one was really good.
Excellent.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Any advice for players or people out there watching who are considering playing?
Well, just play. Come and join us. That's what I would say.
I like it. Just play.
Yeah, I hope we can get as many people as possible. That's for sure. I really do. I'm gonna do my best.
It has its own meta inside. Like there are decks that like good throughout all the weeks. Like Big Beast fans are Hunter. For some reason, everyone brings it and it works. So like this the place has its own meta. That's slightly different. I wouldn't say it's completely different, but it's slightly different from Ladder, and it's not the same field decks every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just read Maxi saying, "Just don't get Corb to play next season, please."
Been there, done that. Yeah, Corb was our season 2 winner, I believe, right?
Yeah, Season 2.
Yes.
He beat me in the semis.
He's a player, that's for sure.
Oh, hands down, one of the best. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I mean, we're pretty much at the end of our evening tonight. But before we go, let me ask Kenray first. Any final shout outs or anything that you want to share? Whether it's social media stuff or whether it's practice partners or just anything that you'd like to say before we call it a night here.
I mean, at this point, I think everyone knows. Maxi kind of helps me. Deck building. Sometimes he helps me test for the decks. Even after he lost, even after I beat him, he'll help me a bit with the final decks. And Ginger Ninja, he helped me as well when I was facing Mac. Spoopy Daddy, who helped me this week, the testing of decks.
Very nice. And one of the kind of like core tenets of our show is just to spotlight members of the Wild community and about community in general. And so because of the deck building restrictions, these decks are typically not something that you can play on ladder, and so having practice partners is so valuable. And so absolutely big shout out to Maxi and Ginger and Schmoopy Daddy for being great practice partners. And that's I definitely share that sentiment.
Jools, how about yourself? Do you have any shout outs or anything you would like to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'd like to say to Maxi, where's my help, Maxi?
No love. That's
I'm
great.
feeling left out here.
That's great. Well, hey, yeah, you don't need it. That's funny. Well, there's always, part of the beauty of this. And so typically, we have a Discord for Born to Be Wild podcast. There's a separate Discord for the listener series. It's smaller, but it's a place where we can share replays and find practice partners and that sort of thing. And so, highly encourage anybody that's interested in playing next season to reach out to join our Discord. I'll post the link in the chat here, but we will announce there when the next season is up. We'll have some discussion beforehand about what deck building challenges we want to include in season 5, and typically these happen 2 or 3 weeks after the launch of a new expansion, and so sort of anticipating the next expansion to be in early April, and so I would anticipate having season 5 probably start late April, early May, but nothing set in stone yet, and so we'll get back to everybody, and then But anyone interested in playing, we're happy to have you. There's no cost associated at all. It's free to join, and this is just a thing that we do for fun, for some fun competition that is different than the meta decks that you would see playing Wild Ladder. All right.
That's right.
Yes. And of course, congratulations to Jools and well played to you both. But we, of course, need to end it with the congratulations to our Season 4 champion. So congratulations,
Hooray!
Sir Julian
Hooray!
Natal.
Wow.
Well done. Well done.
Killed it.
Thanks very much. I'm very surprised it's happened.
Well played.
Wiser words have never been spoken.
And you heard that on Born to Be Wild.